Welcome to the Caregivers Coaching Corner. I'm Dementia Coach Diane, and I'm sharing my journey as I care for my husband, Ben, who's living at home with Lewy body dementia. One of the things that I've been asked about from the caregiving community is to start to address some specific case studies. And so I have one today that's one of the most difficult things that we face as dementia caregivers, which is how to handle things when our loved one is in denial about their condition. Now, when Ben first started showing signs of dementia, he didn't know it was happening to him. So there was actually no way that I could convince him he was having a problem because he wasn't aware that he was getting lost coming home from familiar places, or that he had asked me the same question like 5 times in a row, or asked me to summarize the plot of a movie that we were watching multiple times. He just was totally unaware. So there was no way that I could really have a conversation with him about it and convince him that he had an issue and needed to go to the doctors. But not all of our loved ones living with dementia are as unaware. So the request that came in from the community reads like this: how do I have conversations with my husband when he is somewhere between denial and over-optimism? In other words, it's just a mild case and I'm going to beat it. He apparently asks his wife for help with many things, yet seems unaware of his limitations, and he doesn't want to tell anyone. She feels like she needs to talk about it and tell others, but she also finds herself covering for him, hoping that others won't ask, but yet she knows that some of his friends are getting suspicious. So this is all about, when I'm fine isn't fine. How do we navigate denial, optimism, and maybe even sarcasm in dementia care? So let's talk about, first of all, why denial, false optimism, and sarcasm are common responses when somebody's having cognitive changes. We'll take a look at the difference between just getting older and some possible warning signs of dementia, how to respond when your loved one won't or can't admit that there's a problem, and then how to protect yourself emotionally while still giving them the support they need. So first of all, we need to always take a look at things from our loved one's perspective. When they start to either deny that they've got a problem or are overly optimistic, it's really just a coping mechanism. You might very well do the same thing. Me too. Dementia can certainly feel like a loss of control. It's one of the scariest things for someone to tell you that you've got dementia. So people are going to hold on to whatever mindset actually helps them to feel secure. So let's just have some compassion as they're trying to cope. Now, denial may show up in a number of different ways. They might be totally dismissive, like, there's nothing wrong with me. Or they could get defensive, you're imagining things. Or they might be skeptical, like, oh, those doctors don't know what they're talking about. So it can show up in a number of different ways, but we have to be tuned in because even optimism can become like a shield, like, oh, it's just a little forgetfulness, I'll be fine. They minimize it. Or they could be overly confident. I'll beat this with crossword puzzles and vitamins. So it could come up in so many different ways, or even sarcasm. Oh, great, I guess I'm just the village idiot now. Or let's just slap a dementia label on me and call it a day. So once again, like, humor is a defense mechanism, but it can also be a bridge if you engage with it. So first of all, again, it can show up in many different ways. What you don't want to do is argue or try to force your loved one to admit something that they're not ready to face. And you certainly don't want to list every mistake they've made to prove your point. Or say, like, you need to accept reality. Because one of the things I learned very early on in my journey with my husband is that his reality, his perception was his reality. And there was no way I was going to convince him of my reality. I mean, he went through periods of not recognizing me at all. And there was no way that I could convince him that I was his wife, and he had known me for over 50 years. So that's what not to do. What to do instead is to try to meet them where they are. Something as simple as, hey, I know you feel fine, but let's just check in so we can keep you feeling that way. Or, keep the conversations very low pressure. I noticed you had, trouble with, finding your wallet. Do you want me to help you with that? Use their language when you can. If they believe they can beat it, well, focus on ways to support brain health, rather than challenging the diagnosis. So what you want to do is, take small steps towards hopefully increasing their awareness, if possible, of what's going on with them. You might want to share your observations very gently. I notice you've been, misplacing things more. Do you want me to help you keep track? Or bring in a neutral third party when you can. Hopefully, if you can get them to their physician, and by the way, what's nice about, at least if you're at the age where you've got Medicare, you can go for your, regular annual Medicare checkup. And what I did was I called ahead and I let our physician's office know all the symptoms that I had been documenting. And I asked them to just go ahead and include a cognitive screening as part of our regular checkup. So I had them put, me through one as well. And that was a way that I started to go down the path of getting a diagnosis for Ben. So there are ways to do this without, again, arguing with them. Just like work it into something that you would be doing anyway. So hopefully you can have a physician help you with convincing your loved one to either go for some more tests, or if necessary to have, an assessment of their driving skills, things that they can't keep doing and stay safe. But a trusted friend actually might be able to help as well, or another family member. So sometimes, as their spouse, I know for me, I was sometimes the last one that Ben wanted to hear from. But you want to see who can help you, of course. And when you can, offer choices. Would you rather I help you with this? Or should we set up a system together? So there's a number of ways that you can meet them where they are. Again, try not to argue or convince them of your reality. I know that this can be one of the hardest parts of caregiving, trying to help someone who doesn't think they need help. But bottom line, if you are dealing with denial or sarcasm or over-optimism, you're not alone. Please drop a comment below if you've been through this and what has helped you. And let's support each other with ideas that are going to really work. And as always, if this was helpful, please just hit the like button and let me know in the comments what was helpful about this, or if there are any other topics that I can offer from the Caregivers Coaching Corner. Because together, we got this. Together, we're stronger.